Hi and welcome to Susie's Woolworks. This is the card backwards, but I have to tell you I was very impressed. I almost got it right. It's Susie's Works wool. But actually, technically today I will be working wool, so I wanted you to know that I have a good sense of humor. I promised that I would do a demonstration on how to do, what are these things called? Trivets, sorry, trivets, and I have wool backing. This one's not even close to finished yet. I'm gonna actually wet felt this one next, but I wanted you to see what's possible. So I did a snowman with the wintry snowballs or whatever you want to wind, however you want to perceive it. But this was just for fun. And as you can see, making a trivet doesn't have to be concise. You can just have fun. It doesn't have to be a perfect round shape. But if it's a round shape that you're looking for, let's stick that over there for a minute. I'm going to show you if you're looking for a round shape, and I don't waste, so anything that's there, you can get yourself a little embroidery hoop. I don't recommend an 8-inch. This is kind of tiny, but just to show you. And I like the bamboo. I cannot get them from my supplier, so I actually cheat on myself and go to Hobby Lobby to get mine. You can probably go to Joann's, but it's no different. You just have to find your ring and kind of set your foundation. I may need more slack on that. But if I wanted to work within a framework, so it's just for giggles today. Let's see if I can even get it to go on. You might have to get something bigger. Sorry. We'll try. We'll see if that'll last. But you could always just use it as an outline. You don't have to be a total nerd. But basically, that's if you're looking to really kind of stay within a framework. You can use the wool that's in your kit. If you bought the rug yarn kit, first you need to know that this is a blend of Rambouillet and Suffolk, all from the Texas Hill Country. There is a cotton core, which unfortunately I don't know if you can see it. You can kind of see it right there. That cotton core is perfectly acceptable. It actually is going to make it more versatile down the road. I like it better than a jute. What you can do is you'll figure out that you can take bits and pieces off. So say if you're starting in a circle, but you really want that circle super tight, you can go ahead and make a little, what I call the snell circle, and place it down. But I like being off kilter, so I'm gonna do that. And let's find my needle, and you can see you're gonna pick that center, start from that point. Once you get that tacked down into your fiber, then you'll go back in and you can tighten that space up even more. Okay, that ring will annoy me, so I'm gonna tell you right now, I will probably never do that process. Okay, so that's just to kind of give you a sense of what you're working with. You will never need more than, okay, so imagine the space. If you really look at it from a designer's perspective, I guess is the best way to say, this may be a yard, but this is definitely only going to be maybe about 10 inches. By the time you're done, you will have leftovers from that kit. You should be able to make 6 to 8 trivets depending on how you lay them out and how big you go. An average trivet, so if that's 8 inches, so that sits in my 8-inch, so it's actually maybe a good thing to have, just that, even so you know where to draw the line, is perfect. I've been using mine at home, and I use cast iron pots, and I even off the fire pit, I even put them on top of that, and it will brown just naturally, but that's okay. So I'm going to remove this because this is not my, I'm going to have to cut it off. Okay. Regular old scissors, nothing fancy. Let's remove you. The other thing that I like to use, and I don't have my container over here, is this is the Ashford. It is the, I can't think think. This is the heavy gauge. So if you look at numbers, a 36 is your average, and I believe a 40 is going to be your worsted weight or heavier gauge. I was using a 36, my mediums, and I decided to go up to my heavy gauge needle, and it actually worked out way better. I wasn't having to worry about my tits bending. And basically what that means is that the way that they have the edge serrated is just going to be altered in order to accommodate thicker fibers. And because you are going through a significant chunk of fiber, even though it's soft, because this is a gray rambouillet or rose gray, and it will squish down, there is quite a bit of layering in there, so you should see that. And you're really not going to waste. So what you want to do is, if you know you're trying to make a concise amount, it doesn't have to be this thick. This, you can even take some layers off and do half that, because really all it is just a backing. It's not, it's there to stabilize, but it's not the most important factor there. And then you're just gonna lay your piece out. So figure out how many you're gonna need, and if you can, go ahead and separate that out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I don't like to waste, and that's just unnecessary. And I can see I can fold that in half and use it for another trivet. And just to give you an idea, that's more than enough. So I'm not wasting. Okay, so this is called batting because of the way that it's processed. It just comes right off the drum carder in the mill, and it's perfect for quilting, but for everything else, I've actually spun some up just to see what would happen, and it spins beautifully. The only difference is it's just not in sliver format, and in sliver just means that it's gonna look more like this when it comes off. I don't recommend using this as your backdrop unless if you are really confident that you can keep it in its place. Plus, it's gonna be already stretched and pulled, so it's much thinner. You would have to use quite a bit of this to get the same density as that. Okay, so, pardon me. A little bit of potato chip stuck in the back of my throat. I'm a human being. No, I'm not sick. You're just gonna basically kind of design. If you're just doing in a circle, you're just gonna keep going outward. But if you want to just doodle, I always still go ahead and stretch that end. And let's say I'm gonna do something like this. Holding your needle, I go along the side and in around. You can always go back in and take a little bit of extra wool and stuff it in there if that really bugs you. But I basically follow the wool, and as you see, as I'm starting to stick it down, I grab the loose bits, because even though this is fairly tightly spun in a Z format, it still has some loose bits where you can grab onto with your needle. And I have to give a shout out to Matt, because Matt over at the mill is the one who encouraged me to try this. Now, I don't have their fancy wet felting machine, but what I will do when I'm done getting this all laid out is I'm actually going to take one of my sanders, obviously without the paper on it, and I will get this soapy and sudsy, put some bubble wrap down on it, and then go for it. And I will work it until I feel like it really has felted itself down, and just that vibration from the sander is enough. And I can do a second part because I need to finish that snowman. So when I can be messier tomorrow, I will gladly make another video. But see, I'm gonna just tap that down. And really, this isn't that complicated. That's why you don't need a 10-hour video on this. And just going in and bringing it around. So, issues that I come across, you know, how much do you think I really need? Don't cut it. If you're not really sure, keep that end just dangling off until you've really finished. So let's say I want to tuck that color in. I pull a little bit off the ends. And I'm going to try and get it as close, because this, being so loose, is going to go down in, right in there. And using the tip of your needle, you can actually don't be forceful, just enough that you can grab it, pinch it down, and then continue forward. Okay. So one of the things I like about this follows in line with the Picasso doodle art, is you can do whatever you want to. So let's say I'm making a 2-color heart. You can get that pinched edge. It's the same with any kind of fiber art. If you want the detail to be there, you have to kind of get it into place and work it until it stays. So I will grab that just to pin it down, set my intention, and just leave it there for now because it's not done being worked. And then come back and I'm gonna tack this down so that, and remember when you go to the wet felting process, a lot of things that you see will smooth out. They should adhere to each other naturally. So here's where we're at right now. But basically, you're just, again, see I'm taking the sides of, and you should be able to zoom in a little bit, but I'm just taking my needle and going down the sides there. Oop, and I got to the end of my foam. The foam that I use, so Ashford heavy gauge needles, I believe they're number 40. The foam I use is Colonial felting foam, and Colonial is the brand. I absolutely love this stuff. It's super thick. It actually can outlast a summer of kids' classes. That's how good it is. And when you want to clean it off, you just take tape and pull that color off. But this has been well used, and it's not a big block, but really for what we're doing, you don't need a lot of foam space. And I'm kind of picky about my foam. I've tried different brands, and the Colonial is still my favorite, especially for what we do. Now see, if I want to give it more, so see how a little bit narrower, now I'm going to start adding some character to it. So if you want it to come to more of a point, come on you, come on scissors. Those are my general scissors. All you have to do is just grab that. And now I can create more of a point. So you can see it's not officially tacked down. You really have to kind of work on it. And what will happen is you'll spend, oh, I don't know, depending on the size of your project, you could spend 30 minutes just tacking down this heart and filling in the gaps, and then maybe go away and then come back and keep working on it. All you really want to do is you really want to make sure that it's adhering to your foundation and that it's not going to just fall off when you pick it up. So not tack down, sorry you can't see that, but nothing's fallen off, nothing's fallen off. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I did sneeze all over my project. I apologize in advance. But basically, again, human, sorry. You will have this. And the more you work it, the better it gets. So I'm just gonna go ahead and look at this. Just for our COVID people, so you know, even though I didn't actually sneeze on my hands, I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyways. Let's see, I'm gonna go in and maybe I wanna squiggle that, and you just tuck in and then just keep. So if you're doing this and you have more time on your hands, but see how I can just go in and add that little bit of gray in there, and that's just, you know, gives me an idea, and it's not tacked down, so I have time to play, and I can fill that in. If you have this in your stash, which you should, you have the natural colors. I'm not, oh, I hate that sanitizer. Welcome to 2020, baby. You can over dye these. I would stay with vegetable dyes or plant-based dyes. I realize that means that they're more conducive to fading quicker over time from usage. But you're not really gonna go wash a trivet. It's just not in our human nature to wash a trivet because we know it's just gonna keep getting used over and over again. And unless if you spill something on it, there's no reason to. And I wouldn't recommend Scotch guarding, but if you really felt like you needed to, you could. But the reason I say plant-based is because it is going to be around food, and you kind of want to keep it as natural as possible. Other solutions might be Kool-Aid dyeing, because it has the citric acids built in naturally. So, but that you could create that texture. I'm an au naturel girl. I love the colors the way that they are. Now, the question one of you is probably going to have, whoever's watching this at this very moment, is will I round this out? Most likely I will, and I'm going to use white as my accent color, and I will start by trying to get it to fit into a certain framework. So since I've already exceeded my frame, I just know that I want it to be, let's say I make that the top of it, and that's okay that it's dangling off the end there. I can actually, if I really wanted to be a total smart aleck, is detach this. It's not totally felted down just yet, and I could shorten it to fit in there. Or I could even just tuck them under each other. So I have a couple of options, which is actually not that ugly, to do that and then stay within my trivet framework, just fill in all the gaps around there. But as you can see, it's really easy. I use a single needle because you're gonna have to dot along the line there. I love to use my wool batting because it's already laid out for me. This piece was pre-felted to a certain stage. It wasn't fulled, which means that it was fabric, but it wasn't fabric. It was enough that I could needle felt into it. So that left me enough pliability that I could go back in, do all of this, and then go back in and do the wet felting process. And if you don't like all the loose hairs, take a shaver, dog clipper, whatever, and you can shave off the beard, basically. But this one, actually, I got lucky because there wasn't a lot. But that's it. That's your tutorial. I hope you got something out of it. When I'm ready to do the wet felting, I will upload that and show you all the different steps that I take to get this going. All right, enjoy.